After months of anticipation, it was finally time for our trip to England to visit Chloe at the University of Sussex. Our flight was delayed by 2.5 hours, but we finally made it across the pond to Heathrow and then onto our bus to Brighton. Chloe and her friend Jack greeted us at the bus stop, and after dropping off our luggage, we headed for the famous Brighton Pier on this gorgeous afternoon. It was so good to be together again and see the world our girl had been living in for the past 4 months. After the pier, we wandered around for a closer look at the town. We had a delicious dinner at Pinocchio Restaurant and then a bit more catching up at the Druid's Head pub before we said goodnight and took our jet-lagged bodies back to our Airbnb for some rest. After some cheeky mugs of tea at our lovely little place on the waterfront, we walked to the train station to meet up with Chloe for breakfast at the Garden Cafe. A delicious start to the day in a beautiful plant-filled dining area. Next, it was off to the Lanes, the fun shopping district with loads of vintage stores and unique shops. Carl got himself a flat cap and made a friend. We went home for an afternoon break and then took the bus up to Preston Park for a walk in the gardens. The next day, we left Chloe to her homework and classes and went on a small group tour of the South Downs National Park and the Seven Sisters Chalk Cliffs. After a little walk on the beach, we met up with our guide, Adam, and were on our way.
Way for about 1,000 years. In fact, Brighton was actually considered quite a dangerous.
The scenery was beautiful, hilly and green, and Adam was a great guide, regaling us with his knowledge of history, geology, and cultural tidbits along the way.
So welcome to the South Downs. So I was just asked a question. How did this happen? So of course I'll explain. To get an intersection of what's underneath us, the chalk. In fact, you don't have to dig very far, just a couple of inches. The earth here is then the more dangerous collection on this one. But this is also where you'll get the
Our lunch stop was at lovely Middle Farm and Cidery. A delicious ploughman's platter for Carl, and I had the quiche of the day and salad. And being a little short on time, we split a piece of walnut cake while we were waiting for our meal. Dessert first is sometimes necessary.
6th century. Family moved in last summer. 3 million.
Our next stop was the Long Man of Wilmington, a figure carved into the chalk layer beneath the surface of the hillside. It was originally thought to date back to the Iron Age, but more recent archaeological investigation places it around the 16th or 17th century. The original chalk outline is now kept white with paint by a local volunteer group, but its true origins and meaning remain a mystery. On to our first view of the Seven Sisters Chalk Cliffs, followed by a stop at the Beachy Head Visitor Center for souvenirs and a cuppa. Next, Adam took us to another viewing point, saving the best for last, and the walk to the cliffs was as pretty as the view. A really lovely day. On our last full day, we rode the bus up to Falmer on the outskirts of Brighton to meet Chloe on the Sussex campus. After picking up a coffee at Falmer Bar Student Center, we walked around the campus, including the infamous steep hill up to her townhouse dorm. It was so fun to see where she'd been living and studying this semester. Now we were off to the little town of Lewes, a short 10-minute train ride from Falmer Station. Lewes has some of Chloe's favorite charity shops and a lovely little botanical garden. It was time to head back to Brighton for a little break before having dinner at a well-known foodie restaurant, Burnt Orange. It was one of the best meals of the trip. We said goodbye for now to Chloe after our wonderful visit and headed to the station to catch our train up to London for the next leg of our England journey, where we were joined by longtime friends from Maine, Jim and Julie. More good times to come.